ancient and troubled time, there lived a kindly old man who spoke to the sky. One day, the sky spoke back. "The people have become wicked and evil," said a mighty voice. "I will send a great flood to destroy this wicked world and wash the land clean. All living things shall be wiped from the earth. You and your family alone will survive. Build a great ark of cypress wood to shelter creatures both large and small. Choose 2 of each animal. This is the task I set before you." The old man obeyed. With the help of his wife, his 3 sons, and his sons' wives, he began building an enormous ark of sturdy timber. And after many, many years, the giant vessel was finally finished. And the old man sealed the seams with pitch inside and out. Then, the old man gathered all the animals of the world together. He told them what the voice in the sky had foretold of the coming disaster, about the terrible flood that would cover the earth and all living things. And he began selecting 2 of every creature to join him on the ark, just as the voice had commanded. Little Akbar was there in the valley when the animals were selected, but he was not chosen. 2 mice had already been picked for the voyage. In the dusty maze of hooves, paws, and general confusion, he had been overlooked. Disappointed, Akbar watched as those who had been chosen formed a column, 2 by 2, which stretched across the plain as far as he could see. And when the line of animals finally began to move, Akbar followed along out of curiosity. After many, many days of walking, he saw the ark for the first time, looming like a mountain in the distance. It was enormous. Akbar, he had never seen anything so big. He watched in wonder as the cargo of walking and crawling and flying beasts slowly filled the ark. Meanwhile, the midday sky, it was growing dark. And Akbar, he heard the low rumble of distant thunder, and it frightened him. Oh, a great storm was surely coming, just as the old man had said. Akbar thought of the flood, and he shuddered. At that moment, lightning flashed close by, and thunder shook the earth, and Akbar decided right then and there he would not be left behind. Now the old man had also been watching the sky. He and his sons were trying to get the animals aboard before the rain began. He was much too busy to notice when little Akbar slipped onto the back of an ostrich and nestled down among the bird's tail feathers. The soft feathers tickled Akbar's nose, and he nearly sneezed as the ostrich walked with its mate up the long gangplank and onto the ark. But he had to be quiet and go unnoticed by the old man. You see, Akbar had not been chosen. He was a stowaway. Once on board, Akbar sneezed so hard that he tumbled out of the ostrich's tail feathers and onto the hard wooden floor. The fall stunned him, but in a moment, he was up and running for cover. The air was filled with sounds of every description. The screeching of birds, the flapping of wings, the barking and the growling, and loud, terrible roars. His instincts told him there was danger everywhere. Scurrying across the deck, he darted out and from beneath and under the shell of a huge tortoise that was dozing alongside of its mate. With all of the creatures finally aboard, the old man and his sons pulled the wooden doors shut against the coming downpour. When suddenly, a great shock of thunder shook the massive vessel, and the creatures all fell silent. The plip-plop of the first raindrops could be heard striking the roof of the ark. The rain poured down day and night and did not stop. Streams, rivers, and oceans overflowed. Soon, villages were washed away, then towns, and cities were drowned as the torrent increased. The water, it rose over the treetops, then finally covering the peaks of the most highest of mountains. could be seen above the terrible flood except the ark, pitching back and forth in the storm. The animals, they crowded close together inside, frightened, but oh so snug. Akbar was worried about being discovered by the old man. He knew he did not belong there, so he moved from place to place in search of a safe hiding spot among the creatures. As the waves lifted and tossed the ark, Akbar hid in a forest of elephant legs. As the raging wind lashed the decks, Akbar hid high and dry in the mane of a seasick lion. After 10 days of rain, he hid with a pair of storks in a nest of twigs. And still, the rain continued, day and night. After 20 days of lightning and thunder, Akbar tried tucking himself into a rhino's ear. But he wasn't there long. It was a very uncomfortable place to hide. After 30 dark days, while the downpour continued, he burrowed down into the folds of a sheep's warm, bushy wool. It was a wonderful, snug place to hide, but the ram grew annoyed. So Akbar had to move on. At last, the rain came to an end. On the 41st day, the ark drifted over the silent world. Long days passed slowly. Then, one day, a great wind blew down from the sky. Oh, it rushed over the waters and began to dry all that it touched. As the waters slowly receded, the ark came to rest on a lone peak rising out of the ocean. The old man was hopeful. He believed it was a sign that they would all survive. Akbar, he was so excited. Forgetting to hide, he raced out onto the deck and he leapt out onto the railing and he peeked down over the side. Where once he had seen nothing but ocean, now atop a craggy mountaintop appeared below him, reaching deep down into the waters. Oh, Akbar remembered. Oh, he was a stowaway. And he scampered on the top of a giraffe, hiding behind its horns. He watched the old man release a dove. The dove flew from the ark, rising high into the sky. Akbar watched. He watched her go until she was just a white dot on the horizon, surrounded by water in every direction. The dove found no place to land. Water still covered the entire earth except for that peak they rested on. Exhausted, she finally returned to the ark. 7 days passed, and the dove was released again. All day, his family and animals and sons watched the skies, and they waited, and they waited. And at dusk, the dove, she finally returned with a sprig of fresh olive in her beak. The old man knew it meant the dove had found dry land. Surely it was only a matter of time before the waters subsided completely. Soon, the mountaintop beneath the ark appeared to rise high as the waters gradually receded. Oh, they were safe now. The old man was sure of this. The animals knew too, and they sensed that all would be well. They bellowed and they roared. Oh, they cackled and they crowed while the water slowly went down. Finally, the old man and his sons opened the doors and let down the gangplank. The creatures, they spilled out, covering the land in every direction. Akbar just sat for a moment on the firm, dry ground. With the ark nearly empty, there was no reason to hide anymore. He looked all around and sniffed. He sniffed the air again. The earth had been washed clean. Akbar saw a family of mice leaving the ark. Just as he decided to follow along, he heard the old man's voice. "Go forth and prosper and lead righteous lives," he said to his sons and their wives. We were blessed from the very beginning. The old man said, looking up into the sky. At that moment, the sun lit the earth and the most glorious rainbow appeared. Little Akbar paused, and he looked at the old man. Then he looked up at the sky, and he was so happy. Then that little stowaway scurried down the mountains to join the others of his kind in the brand new